Yokozuna. This guy is so much better than you would initially expect. And it all comes down to his abilities. So we'll get there in just a second. He's a warrior and tank. He gets a lot of health, good amount of defense. Interestingly, he is not armored, which has pros and cons. One of the best things, again, is that so even though he starts out low, you can build up his star level by collecting tokens. That's a big plus. In many ways, actually, I'd probably rather have one that you could do that with. Even if they start at 3-star, you're very limited many times at collecting. So it's very nice that you can collect over time and build him up. Right, he is water type. Benefit against fire, taken away by or lower damage against nature. Overall, he doesn't really do that much damage anyway. That's not the purpose of him on your team. He has an increase to other warriors. He increases his chance to dodge after any critical attack. And Rogue Hunter, and that helps a little bit. I think that's a ×2 damage as well versus Rogue, so if he's attacking a Rogue, he increases his damage. The hard thing is a lot of the Rogues, especially later in levels, their first attack skill, either they've already got a dodge benefit, or they get a dodge benefit after their first attack skill. It can be hard to actually land an attack on them, so his already low attack coupled with the difficulty in actually hitting rogues makes it so that's maybe not as big of a benefit as you might expect. His defense is probably more along the lines of just medium, but he does have above average health, so that helps out. None of these things have been particularly special yet. He's got the freeze resist and cold resist as you'd expect for water type. This is where he really shines, the sumo stomp. So it attacks everyone and does almost no damage, which doesn't sound very exciting. But then everyone on their team, at least everyone it connects with, and usually that's all of their team, is hit with the dazed status. And that means if you've got him on your team as a defender for the dungeon raid, before the other team gets to take any turn, as long as they don't have a fast player that goes before him, so he's normal speed, a fast player on the attacking side would go first, but that's usually pretty rare. He'll hit everyone with dazed and massively drop their hit rate. And that can be devastating when you're on the attacking side. So much so that I almost exclusively avoid battles with defenders that have him on their team. It's very difficult. You're trying to plan out your attack and trying to take players down at the right, take the different characters down one at a time to make sure that when their group of turns comes around, you're not going to get hit by any more characters than you have to. And during that planning, it's very hard to account for that dazed status. For half of your hits, or maybe even all of your hits, could miss, and then you've basically lost. So it's very hard to take dungeons that he is defending in, and because of that, he's a great asset to have on your side to put on your defense team when you're going to go raid. I sometimes include him on the attacking team if I'm attacking to do a dungeon raid, depending on what the other team has on it, but almost all the time he's a great player, definitely top 5 to have on your defense team. And the only hard thing is when you get lots of other great players, but before that time I would say definitely keep him in there. And even afterwards, it's questionable, and there's still some toss-up. It will be very helpful to get the next Ascension. I've played against people that have already had had his taunt skill, and then, again, it's just incredibly powerful to have him on your defending side team. He'll do that daze to everybody, make it very hard to land hits if you're on the attacking team, and then the next turn round, he does taunt, and after that happens, it's very hard to finish anybody off. And so it can be just a great defending player while the rest of your team either takes out the rest of the team or does whatever. So I would say definitely early game, and maybe even no matter which characters you have, keep him on your defending against raids. Not a great player for player versus environment. His attack is just too low. He doesn't add too much to the team in that situation, but maybe there are a few instances or bosses that he would work very well against. But in general, he really shines in the PvE when you're defending your dungeon against raids.